Well, good afternoon again, and thank you all for being here, and thank you especially to our property owners for continuing your commitment to the city of Boston and to this neighborhood in offering our organization 5 more years to deepen its impact. Just over 8 months ago, I joined the bid to further the incredible legacy begun by Rosemarie Sansone. And those of you in the room tonight who had the foresight to create the downtown bid 12 years ago to support a renaissance for downtown Crossing and to ensure a healthy business environment more broadly in the financial district, government center, and the theater district. That renaissance was well underway when the COVID-19 pandemic struck 3 years ago. And as you've begun to hear tonight, we have much work underway to recapture the momentum and to chart a new course that is responsive to all that's changed about society since early 2020. The simple truth is that if you choose to be, it is easy to be down on downtowns right now. The pandemic changed the pattern of our lives and especially the pattern of work. In 2020 and 2021, downtown Boston had only a third of the visitation that we saw previously, with 40 million less visits per year than in 2019. And while other downtowns throughout the country have fared even worse, we still watched locally as many of our small businesses closed, as interest in our corporate office space contracted. Those offices that are occupied saw reduced visitation by office workers, leading to well-documented struggles for retail, public transit, hospitality, and more. However, since the last of the COVID surges, visitation has been on a considerable upward trajectory. Last year and this year, we expect 10 million more people per year to visit the neighborhood than the year before, bringing downtown Boston back over 70% of those 2019 levels. We've had 26 straight months of year-over-year growth to the comparable month in foot traffic, and the foot traffic we've seen has led to encouraging signs everywhere. Higher spending, fully occupied hotels, new businesses, and yes, even new office tenants. Since joining the bid, I've had hundreds, if not thousands, of conversations with those interested in the future of downtown. And there are a few topics that most remain on people's minds. First, the topic of conversions. The bid remains supportive of the city's efforts to help owners convert office space and office buildings to other uses, mostly residential, hotel, and life science. It's clear in Boston, as it is around the rest of the country, that we would be wise to identify suitable buildings in our CBD and to incentivize their conversion to a higher, better use. In recent months, the bid has supported an office to lab conversion on a prominent corner of downtown Crossing, an office to hotel conversion in a private way off Tremont Street, and a conversion that paves the way for a new museum on Tremont Street itself. We are participating in the BPDA's conversations around what subsidies or other policy considerations would encourage further office to residential conversions to follow, and we are looking forward to the completion of the planned downtown effort later this summer. The second topic that I hear about most regularly is retail vacancy. The bid has spent considerable time over the last 6 months addressing this issue. We've obtained vacancy data from our full membership, identified a consultant to surface best practices, and we have piloted a new initiative to have the bid ourselves manage vacant space through our Third Space pop-up this past winter. At Third Space, we commissioned 2 local artist collaboratives to convert a vacant former sandwich shop on Summer Street into an art gallery that was free and open to the public 30 hours a week for 3 months. In the evenings, we turned the space into a vibrant community event space that hosted over 3 dozen events. Overall, Third Space saw thousands of visits in its initial run and turned a very visible vacancy into a destination-worthy amenity. That success has led to a flurry of interest from downtown landlords who are offering vacant retail space to the bid to bring activity, art, small business incubation, and other partnerships to the market. And we are preparing to announce future locations of Third Space in the coming months. We have also worked closely with the city on the Terrific Space Initiative, a program offering grants to Boston-based entrepreneurs to locate first and second location businesses in vacant retail storefronts. The downtown bid has helped recruit companies into the applicant pool with a lens towards BIPOC businesses and other priority businesses for the downtown, and we have provided matchmaking services between those entrepreneurs and building owners. This work has only really just begun, as the city is poised to make their initial announcement about the first cohort of grantees in the near future. And the bid stands ready to ensure that a significant number of those grantees and even some runners-up in the program will have a partner and technical assistance in seeking to locate a business in the BID district. A third topic that I'm frequently asked about is safety. We cannot talk about incentivizing people to spend time downtown without ensuring that our visitors feel safe and that we eliminate or reduce instances of crime. Yet any conversation on safety must start in one place. Boston is one of the safest major cities, and downtown Boston is one of the safest central business districts anywhere in America. Nearly every day, an out-of-town visitor will stop one of our ambassadors or someone on the street to remark on how clean and safe our neighborhood is. Our partners at Block by Block take particular pride in fostering a welcoming atmosphere throughout the district, and our largest hotel reported recently that in all 5,000 visitor surveys last year, the word safety didn't appear once in terms of a guest feeling unsafe downtown. Yet since the beginning of the pandemic, and with the overall reduction in foot traffic, perceptions of safety downtown have seemingly plummeted despite crime rates that match 5 and 10-year averages. Individual incidents receive breathless coverage on local news broadcasts and certainly have a negative impact on the neighborhood. But the overall reality is both that downtown Boston is extremely safe and that we need to collectively work harder to make it even safer. The BID ourselves commit a significant portion of our budget each year to risk assessment, to social services outreach work, and to ensuring the Boston Police have the tools and cooperation they need to manage downtown. We are working to overcome the perception of downtown held by many with publicity campaigns, broader placemaking efforts, and social services integration. Moreover, we have led conversations with Tremont Street and Winter Street abutters on what can be done to bring about a change to the day-to-day experience that so many of us have along that important edge of the neighborhood. On Winter specifically, there is now a chance for the BID to play an even more direct role in connecting with our audience and in serving as a positive catalyst for change. Based on some productive recent conversations, I would expect that in the year ahead, the BID will take over a prominent storefront on Winter Street. In doing so, we would look to bring together our usual mix of positive placemaking interventions in both an indoor and outdoor environment. Think retail, think seating, think tourist services or cultural programming, and perhaps some great food and beverage, to create something of a visitor center that would not only welcome locals and tourists alike, but would provide a vibrant and visible presence 7 days a week in the heart of one of our most important and challenging streets. We believe such a presence could help turn the tide and speed Winter Street along into its next generation of retail success. Finally, I most get asked about the return of the office worker. We will perhaps never again see 5-day-a-week foot traffic from most office workers. And so the BID is prepared to focus more on realistically broadening interest by residents and tourists, regional visitors, diners, and those seeking a unique urban experience. All of that is to the benefit of someone who has a desk available to them downtown. Over the next 5 years, the BID's programming will focus even more on large-scale activations, as you heard in the video, festivals, fairs, and block parties, holidays, art exhibits, and much more. Destination programming and destination art will create a more reliable visitation in the years ahead by tourists and locals alike. The BID debuted some of this work in our recent downtown Boston block party this past weekend. In a first-of-its-kind event, we partnered with the city and 10 restaurants to close Temple Place to car traffic over 2 days to create a family-friendly, open-air food and drink promenade with 14 hours of live music and a little something for everyone. Despite some tough weather, very tough weather, 9,000 visitors flocked to the block party. Bars and restaurants that were incentivized to stay open at hours and on days where they hadn't since 2019 were rewarded with sales throughout the weekend. And the BID ourselves unlocked a new formula for driving destination attendance. We will host and produce more similar events in the years ahead, from expanding HarborFest this July and Boston Fashion Week this fall, to debuting new partnerships in both art and events. This effort will also be paired with attracting experiential retail, an effort that has already begun with golf, personal favorite of mine, afternoon tea, and the forthcoming Wonder Museum, to name a few. Through all that, however, we remain mindful that the infrastructure and offerings in downtown Boston still relate best to the office environment. In a recent BPDA public meeting, the city offered that the financial district remains the largest office submarket in Boston by a substantial margin. 35% of all buildings and nearly 50% of all square footage in the broader downtown office market, which includes Back Bay and the Seaport, is in our financial district. The bid believes that the work cited earlier to create a more well-rounded neighborhood, when coupled with expanded housing options, reliable public transportation, and modern programmatic and retail offerings that reflect an authentic depiction of Boston, will ultimately lure certain workers back to the office more often. But we will need help in this effort, and it starts with more companies, including the public sector, deciding that employees should spend more in-person time downtown. Without going through all the arguments for and against today, I think it's safe to say that there's no dependable consensus yet nationally on the future of work. Corporate and public sector leadership have options today about what is good for their companies, good for their employees, and good for the city where both are located. For our part, the bid is focused on lessening the barriers to what would make an employee have a happy and productive day downtown. In closing, I'm quite excited about the future of downtown Boston. I accepted this role with the visible headwinds of empty storefronts and quiet offices. But based on the resources provided today by our property owners, the leadership of our dedicated board and staff, the professionalism of our crew of ambassadors, and the partnership with Mayor Wu's administration and so many of the stakeholders gathered here today, downtown Boston is already great, and I'm confident many of downtown Boston's very best years are ahead of us. Thank you for your support.